Sometimes in life, you can't explain why a certain person never leaves your thoughts. He doesn't call, he doesn't text, and yet he's there, living in your mind rent-free. Now listen, when someone is always on your mind without communication, it's not just random. It means there's a connection that your heart and spirit can't deny. But here's the key. Don't confuse your feelings with facts. Just because he's on your mind doesn't mean he's putting you on his. You've got to be wise enough to separate desire from reality. Sometimes God places people in your spirit because there's a lesson tied to them. It doesn't always mean they're your forever. It could mean you've got unfinished business within yourself, like healing, closure, or learning your worth. That constant thought might be a reminder of what you deserve, or even what you should never settle for again. You ever wonder why someone keeps showing up in your mind even when there's no communication? No phone call, no text, not even a simple hello, and yet that person lives in your thoughts as if they just walked out the room 5 minutes ago. That right there tells you something deeper is happening. Because when somebody is always on your mind, it's not an accident, it's not random, it's a signal. But the question you got to ask yourself is this: what exactly does it mean? See, sometimes it means you've got a soul tie, a connection that goes beyond what words or actions can explain. Other times it means you're holding on to something that was never fully finished, like a relationship that ended without closure, or a love that never had the chance to become what you thought it could be. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because you think about him all the time doesn't mean he's thinking about you. That's the part most people miss. Feelings can be powerful, but feelings alone don't prove anything. A man who truly wants you, a man who truly values you, will not leave you in silence while you're over there wondering if he cares. He will reach out, he will check on you, he will make sure you know you're not forgotten. But if all you've got is him in your head and nothing in reality, you've got to start asking yourself, am I holding on to a memory, or am I holding on to a man? Sometimes God places a person in your spirit not because they're supposed to be with you, but because you're supposed to learn something from the connection. It might be about patience, it might be about strength, or it might be about realizing your own worth. Think about it. That man you can't stop thinking about, maybe he taught you how to dream, maybe he reminded you that you could feel again, maybe he pushed you to grow in ways you never expected. But just because he had a purpose doesn't mean he was meant to stay forever. Some people are like chapters in a book. They're important to the story, but they're not the ending. When a man is truly meant for you, communication won't be hard. You won't have to wonder. You won't have to guess. You won't have to replay old moments in your head just to feel close to him. He'll be there, showing you through action that you matter. If he's not doing that, if he's just living in your mind without any effort on his part, you need to step back and evaluate what that means. Because love is not one-sided, and relationships are not built on imagination alone. See, we get caught up sometimes thinking constant thoughts equal destiny. You tell yourself, if I can't stop thinking about him, then maybe he's the one. But that's not always true. What it might mean is that you've got some unfinished healing to do. You've got some places in your heart that still need closure. Or maybe it means you've allowed yourself to romanticize the idea of him, holding on to the potential instead of the reality. Because reality doesn't lie. Reality is clear. If he wanted to talk to you, he would. If he wanted to see you, he'd make a way. If you matter to him, you wouldn't have to wonder. So when he's always on your mind without communication, don't just focus on him. Focus on yourself. Ask yourself what you're learning, what you're avoiding, and what you're really holding on to. Because sometimes the thoughts aren't about him at all. Sometimes they're about the part of you that still craves connection, love, or validation. And until you give that to yourself first, you'll keep getting stuck on someone who may not even be thinking about you. Let me tell you something. Communication is the lifeline of any relationship. You can't build love on silence, and you sure can't build trust on guessing games. If a man is in your life, but he's not talking to you, not checking on you, not making you feel secure with his words and actions, then you've got to be honest with yourself about what that means. When communication is missing, connection starts to fade because love is more than just a feeling. It's about action. It's about consistency. It's about effort. Think about it. If you're always the one reaching out, always the one waiting for his response, always the one wondering why he hasn't called, then you're carrying the whole relationship by yourself. That's not love. That's work. A healthy relationship requires two people putting in equal effort, two people making sure each other feels seen, heard, and valued. If he's silent while you're thinking about him day and night, then he's not showing you that you matter. And love is supposed to be proven, not imagined. See, women have a tendency to rationalize silence. You tell yourself, maybe he's busy, maybe he's shy, maybe he just doesn't know how to express himself. But let's be real here. Men do what they want to do. If a man wants to talk to you, he will find a way. If he wants to see you, he will move mountains to make it happen. Men are simple in that way. When they want something, they go after it. So when he's not reaching out, when he's not communicating, you've got your answer. He may be on your mind, but you're not a priority on his. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't care at all, but caring is not enough. Love requires demonstration. If he says nothing, does nothing, and leaves you in silence, then what you're experiencing is not love, it's confusion. And confusion is not a foundation you can build on. You deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve someone who makes sure you never have to doubt where you stand. Because let me tell you, a man who truly loves you will not risk losing you by keeping quiet. He will speak up, he will reach out, and he will reassure you with both his words and his actions. When you let silence slide, when you accept lack of communication as normal, you start to teach yourself that bare minimum is enough. And it's not. You start to lower your standards without even realizing it. You start to settle for thinking about him instead of being with him, for replaying old memories instead of creating new ones. And that's dangerous because it keeps you stuck in a cycle where your love is one-sided. You're investing energy into someone who's not investing back into you. Love should not feel like a guessing game. You should not have to decode his silence, read between the lines, or convince yourself that his lack of words still means he cares. That's not how love works. Real love is loud, it's clear, it's consistent. A man who loves you makes sure you feel it, not just think it. He will check in, he will make the effort, and he will prove to you that you're not an afterthought. So if communication is missing, don't excuse it. Don't settle for silence. Don't hold on to the hope that one day he'll wake up and start acting right. Because when a man wants you, he doesn't hesitate. He doesn't leave you wondering. He doesn't let you sit in silence while he lives rent-free in your mind. He makes sure you know you're on his too. Sometimes when somebody stays on your mind, even without talking to you, it's not about them at all. It's about the lesson tied to them. God has a funny way of putting certain people in your life, not to be your forever, but to teach you something you couldn't have learned any other way. You might think you missed the person, but what you're really holding on to is what you experienced with them. Every person who enters your life is either a blessing or a lesson, and sometimes they're both. When he's always on your mind without any communication, it could be God's way of showing you what you need to work on inside yourself. Think back to people you've cared for deeply. Some of them weren't right for you, but that didn't mean their presence was wasted. Maybe he taught you what love could feel like when it's good, or maybe he showed you what red flags you should never ignore again. Sometimes the ones who break your heart end up being the reason you know how to guard it better in the future. Sometimes The one you can't stop thinking about is the same one who forced you to grow into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. That's not an accident. That's purpose. But here's the mistake people make. They confuse a lesson for destiny. Just because you feel a strong pull towards someone doesn't mean they're supposed to stay in your life. Some people are only meant to stay long enough to reveal what you didn't see before. They show you your weak spots, your blind spots, your patterns. They shine a light on the parts of you that need healing. And if you don't recognize that, you'll end up chasing after the lesson instead of learning from it. That's how people get stuck, replaying the same situation in their mind over and over, hoping it turns into something it was never meant to be. You see, God doesn't waste time. He doesn't let people cross your path for no reason. Every encounter has purpose. Every connection has meaning. But not everyone is supposed to be permanent. And when a man stays on your mind without communication, you've got to start asking, what is God trying to tell me through this? Maybe the thought of him is there to remind you to raise your standards. Maybe it's there to push you to let go of unhealthy attachments. Maybe it's just there to show you that you still crave love and it's time to prepare your heart for someone who can actually give it to you fully. What we often do is romanticize people who are silent. You create stories in your head. You make excuses for their absence. You hold on to the idea of what could be instead of facing what is. But what is real is this: communication is missing. And if communication is missing, then what you're holding on to is not love. It's memory, it's fantasy, it's attachment. The lesson is in learning to let go of what isn't serving you and making room for what will. So the next time you find yourself thinking about him constantly, don't just ask why you can't stop. Ask what the thought is supposed to teach you. Is it teaching you patience? Is it teaching you boundaries? Is it teaching you to value yourself more? Because if you don't take the lesson, you'll end up stuck with the same test over and over again. But if you learn from it, you grow. You prepare yourself for the man who will not only stay on your mind, but will also show up in your life, speak to you, and prove with his actions that he's meant to be there. A real man doesn't leave you sitting in silence, wondering if you're on his mind. A real man shows you. He proves it. He doesn't just let you live in your imagination, hoping for signs, replaying old memories, or clinging to what you wish would happen. When a man truly wants you, he'll put action behind his feelings. That's the difference between interest and investment. Interest says, I think about you sometimes. Investment says, I'm going to make sure you know I think about you every day. And that's what separates a man who just passes through your life from a man who intends to stay. Women often mistake silence for mystery, like maybe he's being quiet because he's shy or he's holding back because he doesn't want to scare you off. But let me tell you the truth. When a man loves you, he's not shy about it. He doesn't risk losing you because of pride, ego, or excuses. He communicates, he reaches out, and he lets you know exactly where you stand. If you're wondering whether you're on his mind, that's your answer. A man who really cares won't leave you wondering. Men are wired for action. When they want something, they go after it. They don't sit back and hope it comes to them. If a man wants a job, he applies for it. If he wants a car, he works for it. If he wants you, he pursues you. So if he's not reaching out, if he's not showing up, if all you've got is silence and your thoughts of him, then he's not investing in you. And a man who's not investing in you doesn't deserve to live rent-free in your mind. Love is about consistency. It's not just about big moments, flowers, or sweet words once in a while. It's about showing up every day in small ways that prove you matter. A text that says, I'm thinking of you. A call just to hear your voice. Making time even when he's busy because he knows you're worth it. Those are the actions of a man who values you. Without consistency, words mean nothing. Promises mean nothing. Silence means everything. The danger of holding on to a man who doesn't show up is that you start to lower your own expectations. You start to believe that love is supposed to be quiet, confusing, and one-sided. You convince yourself that it's enough just to feel something for him, even if he's not giving you anything back. But that's not love, that's settling. And the longer you settle, the longer you block the love you really deserve. Because as long as your mind is occupied with someone who isn't there, you don't have room for the one who will be. When a man truly loves you, he's not afraid to prove it. He knows silence creates distance, and distance creates doubt. So he works to close the gap. He makes sure you never question whether you're important to him. He'll say it, he'll show it, and he'll back it up with consistency. That's how you know it's real. So don't confuse silence with love. Don't let someone's absence feel like presence just because you can't stop thinking about them. Pay attention to the actions. If he's not showing up, then it's time to accept that your heart deserves someone who will. The right man won't leave you stuck in your head wondering what you mean to him. He'll make sure you know without a shadow of a doubt. A lot of times, people confuse attachment with destiny. Just because you can't get someone out of your head doesn't mean they're meant to be in your life. The mind has a way of holding on to things longer than the heart should. You sit there day after day thinking about him, imagining conversations, replaying moments, and telling yourself it must mean something deeper because he's always on your mind. But the truth is, thoughts don't equal reality. If his actions don't match what you feel, then what you're experiencing is not love, it's attachment. And attachment can be powerful, but it can also be dangerous if you let it control you. Attachment makes you settle. It makes you believe that because you can't stop thinking about him, he must be the one. It tricks you into waiting, hoping, and holding on even when there's no evidence that he feels the same. And that's how you end up stuck in a cycle where your mind is busy, but your life isn't moving forward. You deserve more than a mental connection. You deserve a man who puts in effort, who speaks to you, who shows you every day that you're not just a thought in his head, but a priority in his life. The difference between destiny and attachment is simple. Destiny is mutual. Attachment is one-sided. If a man is truly destined to be with you, he won't leave you questioning. He'll be present, he'll be consistent, and he'll make it clear that you belong in his world. But if it's attachment, you're the only one doing the work. You're the only one thinking, the only one waiting, the only one building castles in your imagination while he's silent. And that silence speaks louder than words. It tells you where you stand. It's easy to mistake longing for love. Your mind tells you, if I can't stop thinking about him, it must be because we're supposed to be together. But that's not always true. Sometimes it just means your heart hasn't healed yet. Sometimes it means you're holding on to potential instead of reality. Potential is dangerous because it makes you see what could be instead of what is. You convince yourself he has the capacity to love you the way you want, even if he never has. You focus on the good moments, ignoring the silence that followed. And in doing so, you cheat yourself out of the love you deserve. Love doesn't live in silence. Love doesn't hide. Love doesn't make you wonder. Real love comes with clarity. When a man is serious about you, you won't have to chase him in your mind. You won't have to hold on to the memory of his words or the echo of his presence. He will show up, he will speak up, and he will prove himself through action. That's how you know it's real. So when you catch yourself thinking about him all the time, take a step back and ask yourself, am I thinking about who he is or who I wish he would be? That's the key difference. If it's who he is, then look at the reality. He's silent, he's absent, he's not investing. If it's who you wish he would be, then you're in love with the idea of him, not the man himself. And you can't build a future with an idea. You deserve a man who doesn't just cross your mind, but stays present in your life. A man whose actions match your feelings. A man who proves with consistency that you're not just a thought to him, you're a choice. Anything less than that is not destiny, it's attachment. And once you recognize that, you'll stop confusing obsession with love and start opening your heart for the love that was meant for you. Real love doesn't leave room for doubt. When a man truly loves you, you won't have to wonder if you're on his mind. You won't be left replaying old memories in your head just to feel close to him. You won't be sitting in silence hoping he finally reaches out. And you won't be searching for hidden signs in the way he used to look at you. Love makes itself known. It's clear, it's present, and it's consistent. That's why when you find yourself thinking about someone constantly, but hearing nothing from them, you have to face the truth. Real love doesn't make you question. A man who loves you makes sure you know it. He communicates, he reassures you, and he backs it up with actions that never leave you guessing. He's not leaving you in the dark because he understands that silence creates space and space creates doubt. And a man who values you doesn't want to lose you to uncertainty. He wants to protect your heart, not play with your mind. That's why he will show up consistently, not just when it's convenient, not just when he feels like it, but because he knows you deserve stability and certainty. The problem is, when someone is on your mind all the time without giving you communication, you start filling in the blanks yourself. You start creating explanations for their absence, telling yourself he must be busy or shy or struggling with his own issues. You excuse the silence because the thought of facing the truth hurts too much. But love is not supposed to leave you stuck in confusion. Love is supposed to give you peace. If he's not giving you that peace, then what you're holding onto isn't love. It's longing. And longing will drain you if you let it. You've got to understand something about men. When they want you, they make sure you know it. They're not sitting around letting you wonder. Men are hunters by nature. They go after what they want. If he's not reaching out, if he's not calling, if he's not showing up, then as hard as it is to accept, it means you're not his priority. And you deserve to be somebody's priority. You deserve to be with someone who makes it clear that you are the first thing on his mind, not the last. Doubt has no place in love. If you spend more time questioning his feelings than you do enjoying his presence, that's not love, that's confusion. And confusion is painful because it keeps you locked in a cycle of hoping and waiting. But the right man won't put you through that. He'll make you feel secure, valued, and chosen. He'll make sure you know without having to ask. So when he's always on your mind, but he's silent in reality, stop asking what it means about him and start asking what it means about you. It might mean you're holding on to hope because you haven't yet realized your full worth. It might mean you've gotten comfortable with uncertainty because you're afraid to let go. But once you understand your value, you won't settle for silence. You won't accept doubt. You'll wait for the man who eliminates every question mark with his actions. The right man won't just be a thought in your head. He'll be a consistent presence in your life. He won't leave you hanging, won't leave you questioning, won't leave you wondering. He'll be there day in and day out, proving to you that you're not just on his mind. You're in his heart, you're in his plans, and you're in his future. That's what love really looks like. Anything less than that isn't worth your peace.